The Hooble Gooble Pond Stalkers, all primed. Quite like the little duck, although you might say it's more like a goose, I suppose. So, colour-wise, I'm not totally sure what I want to do. Originally, these guys were like green, and that was like summer seasonal colours. In the autumn, I made them yellow. They're the guys riding the pigs, if you've not seen those. And then I did do a Father Christmas kind of guy that was blue, and I might either repaint or remaster the previous ones I've done and just get them all in the same colour scheme. Now, people voted and they generally preferred yellow, and I think I'm inclined to agree. I actually use different paints now. Last time I was using a gradient with multiple contrast paints, which I might still have actually. The problem also is that I don't really like satin paints, though I do have some super matte medium. So it might not show up very well on camera, but I have a gradient which starts with a mix of Imperial Fist and, what is it, Iandan Yellow, is that how you say that? That's an Eldar, is that an Eldar Craft World or something? Anyway, those two yellows, just a mix of those, kind of 50-50, with a bit of golden super matte medium. This stuff is great. And yeah, it's definitely more matte than the contrast paint usually is, which is great. I've then gone with a 100% Iandan Yellow and then Gryph-hound Orange, all with the super matte medium. And it kind of looks okay as a guideline. On the belly, where the fur goes lower, I would start to mix from the orange to Cygor brown. I think generally speaking, I'm going to be using the contrast paint more as a guideline. What I'm probably going to do is use the super matte medium, which is great stuff, mix it with Agrax Earthshade and do a wash, but a controlled wash. I don't really use washes on my miniatures, like, ever, really. But I will use that to kind of bring all the colours together, and then I will just go in with my usual acrylic paints, I think. I also don't really like doing the whole zenithal priming thing for use for contrast paints. I know it kind of works for most people, I just don't like the way it looks. Although maybe I should experiment more with other colours. I'm just not really a contrast paint person anymore. What I will say is the yellows are really good when it comes to contrast paints. The coverage is nice and smooth and you don't have to do loads of layers. I think what I'm doing here is similar to how I painted the originals. I think these are the yellows I used, because there's oranges in the recesses, so I think Iandan Yellow was definitely used. I mean, that's all I'm going to do on camera. This wasn't going to be a painting tutorial or a big painting session, and I am a very slow painter. So about a month ago, I created this little guinea pig witch. Now at the time I was quite happy with this, but since then my thoughts have changed. So when I found out that this was going to get cast, just because I think it got thrown in because there was space on the mould, I did originally think it was pretty cool that one of my minis was going to get cast. And then I thought about it a little bit more, and then I got really embarrassed by the sculpt itself. When I did this, I suppose I wasn't really like embracing my style that I've spent the last year creating. I guess staring at it now, like it's not bad, but I definitely felt like I could do better, or something which is more representative of my aesthetic. Here is essentially the same model, but remastered in my style, which I guess is kind of exaggerated features like big eyes. I like these nice intentional sweeping edges for like the fur. Here they are compared. This ended up being a little bit bigger than I would have liked. I made 2 others as well because I felt like I wanted to do some other poses. So I have these 2 riding broomsticks. Now this one is in like a racing position. This one is a bit more of a casual riding guinea pig. It's side saddle. And I think it kind of works, but the more I look at it, the more I'm not too sure. That brings me to my general thoughts on these 3 minis that I've just done, because I kind of hate them. I hated this one, then I started these, and now I hate them. Why do I hate them? This is just part of my creative process, I think. I'm pretty self-critical, and that might seem like it could be a really like deflating attitude to have. Sometimes it is, but more often than not, I actually use it to motivate me to do better. If I'm to like break this down a little bit, then you might be able to see why I hate them. So for a start, I already mentioned the size. The scale is much bigger than I would have liked. I think this is also part of my style though. I feel like a lot of the minis I make, I say they're like heroic scale. They feel like they're a little bit bigger. What doesn't help is that I haven't sculpted any humans yet, so there's no like reference point for my miniature range. So, and these are these regular sized guinea pigs? Are they giant guinea pigs? What are they? And that brings me on to the uncanny element. These are, you know, pseudo-realistic guinea pigs. They're not anthropomorphic guinea pigs. They're just exaggerated with my art style, like the big eyes and so on. But they're in positions that don't make sense, especially like the side saddle one. Like how would a guinea pig really look if it was sitting side saddle? I've embellished that concept a little bit here. And I mean, yeah, it kind of works, I suppose. And then from a technical point of view, originally, now this mainly applies to these guys, I had the wire coming up the center of the broomstick, and I was thinking, you know what, I quite like the way models used to be, flying models used to be, that is, where they just had a little stand or something. I don't mind a stand. We don't need tactical rocks all the time on our miniatures. It is okay just to have a stand. But then I changed my mind. I thought the tactical rock would actually help with these guys. So it was an afterthought, and I had to add more wire into the armature, which means it wasn't very secure. It's fine as long as you don't touch it. It's a bit of a flaw. What I should have done is thought about it a bit more, and then I could have had green stuff over the armature, which essentially would give the whole thing a lot more structural integrity. If this were to get cast, it would probably break. I mean, as long as it gets successfully cast, who cares, I suppose. I know every time I make something, it's a learning process. There's new skills I'm going to learn, there's mistakes I'm going to make. And at the end of it, I'm generally motivated to do better next time. It is what it is. I'm not going to make any more. I'm going to learn from this, and I don't feel deflated at all about it. I just, I don't know if you're like me, if you make a mistake or you do something when you know you can do better, then I'm just really eager to just start the next thing. Now, what am I going to do next time to improve? I'm going to design. Sounds weird, doesn't it? I'm going to design the miniature. If you watched one of my previous videos, you may have seen me talk about a Kickstarter project I want to do. Well, it's a range of miniatures that I want to use Kickstarter in order to pay for the molds, essentially. That's something I'll think about later on. Either way, these are models I want to hand sculpt and then hopefully sell to people. So the first set is going to be water horses. I mean, that might change if I don't like what I'm doing. What I'm going to focus on is just making them, and then I will worry about all the other stuff later on. Taking the experience I've gained from all the sculpting I've done over the last year, including the technical aspects of working with epoxy and polymer clay, I'm going to do this properly. I'm going to do some actual drawings with scale and size references. I might even use some 3D modeling software to mock up some like rough volumes and poses as a reference, and then I could print out some images from some renders of that. That might be a good idea, actually. I'm going to have the scale right from the start. The armature is going to be perfect from the start. I'm going to think about every little aspect of it. No winging it and no trying to fix things along the way. I am going to get it right from the very first point. I'm going to try and do some like behind the scenes work in progress, and I will just keep all that to Patreon. And you might see it in the vlog or something like that. I mean, you probably will see it in the vlog. Eventually my digital and physical sculpting styles will like totally merge. I'm gonna try and do a live stream this week. It'll probably just be me painting. Maybe sculpting, we'll see. Anyway, these are my most recent sculpts and I hate them. And that's okay.